The stars above Earth shone brighter than ever. Humanity had finally taken its seat among the stars, standing shoulder to shoulder with civilizations far older and far more advanced. The Galactic Union, a vast assembly of alien races spread across hundreds of systems, had reluctantly accepted Earth as a junior member. To the humans, this was a victory. To the Union, it was little more than a courtesy. Compared to species that had sailed through the stars for thousands of years, humanity was new, fragile, and clumsy. They had barely mastered faster-than-light travel when the Union first made contact. Their weapons, their ships, even their scientific theories seemed primitive to the older races. But humans had something the Union could not deny: persistence. No matter how limited their technology appeared, humans refused to give up. In this atmosphere of skepticism, Earth had announced the unveiling of its first true military starship, the ESS Dauntless. It was not merely another vessel, it was humanity's first step toward proving they belonged. The Union gathered in orbit around Europa Station, a colossal hub that floated in the skies above Jupiter's moon. Hundreds of alien dignitaries, generals, and scientists filled the assembly chambers. Their voices hummed in many tones and languages, but the meaning was clear. They expected to laugh. And laugh they did. The Dauntless was revealed with pride. Its dark hull gleamed with alloys not seen in Union fleets. Its design was smaller than the mighty dreadnoughts of the Korth, thinner than the heavy cruisers of the Valari, and far less intimidating than the elegant destroyers of the Chiral. To alien eyes, it looked weak. "This is your great achievement," one Valari commander asked, his insectoid mandibles clattering with amusement. "A child's toy. You waste resources." Others joined in, some with sharp laughter, others with dismissive silence. The Dauntless was quickly branded as useless, a symbolic ship built only to satisfy human pride. But not everyone laughed. Among the human delegation stood Dr. Ilara Voss, the ship's lead designer. She was a woman of sharp eyes and sharper thoughts, carrying the weight of years of struggle on her shoulders. To her, the Dauntless was no toy. It was the culmination of humanity's greatest strengths: adaptability, creativity, and the refusal to surrender. She watched as the aliens mocked her work, but she did not flinch. She whispered to herself, "You do not see it yet, but one day you will." The Dauntless itself was not a large ship. At only 200 meters long, it was dwarfed by Union cruisers that stretched a kilometer in size. Its armaments were modest: railgun batteries, missile launchers, and experimental plasma turrets. Against a typical Union fleet, it looked laughably small, but the true power of the Dauntless was hidden deep within its systems. Unlike alien ships that relied on predictable doctrines and centuries of rigid design, the Dauntless was built with flexibility in mind. Its weapons could be swapped mid-battle. Its hull plating could shift to absorb different types of energy. Its artificial intelligence, nicknamed Athena, was designed not to follow routines but to adapt like a human. Dr. Voss had insisted on these features, despite opposition. She argued that humanity's strength had never been in brute force. They had survived on Earth not by being the fastest, the strongest, or the most powerful, but by being clever. If the Union could not see that, then the Dauntless would show them. The ship's commander, Captain Adrian Holt, shared her belief. He was a man in his early 40s with steady eyes and the calm voice of someone who had seen too many battles. Once a pilot in Earth's first space defense force, Holt had volunteered to lead the Dauntless even when others dismissed it as a career-ending assignment. To him, this was not humiliation. It was opportunity. The first test flight of the Dauntless was meant to be ceremonial. The ship would circle Europa Station, demonstrate its basic weapons, and return for applause. That was the plan. As Holt stepped onto the bridge, he looked around at his crew. They were young, untested officers, eager but nervous. Some had even whispered doubts in the corridors. Is this really worth it? Are we flying a ship that cannot win a real fight? Holt addressed them with a quiet firmness. Others may mock this ship. They may think it weak. But remember this: Earth has always been underestimated. And every time we prove them wrong. This ship is not useless. It is the beginning of something greater. The crew straightened at his words, finding courage where doubt had lingered. The Dauntless moved into space, its engines glowing with a soft blue light. As it glided past alien ships, the comparisons were obvious. A Korth battleship nearby was 3 times its size. A Chiral destroyer carried more visible weapons than the Dauntless had compartments, but as it flew, it moved with a grace none could deny. The demonstration began. Railguns fired with precision, missiles curved with advanced targeting, and the plasma turrets flared in brilliant arcs of light. The Union dignitaries applauded politely, but without enthusiasm. To them it was nothing extraordinary, yet a handful of human observers noticed something different. The ship's systems changed rapidly between each firing sequence. The Dauntless was not locked into one style of attack. It was a chameleon, shifting in real time. Dr. Voss watched from the control room, a small smile forming on her face. The alien saw a simple display. She saw the future. But events beyond Europa Station were stirring. On the galactic frontier, whispers spread of the Dravik swarm, an ancient predator species. They had been silent for centuries, but their fleets had begun to gather again, devouring smaller worlds. Rumors reached Union ears that the swarm was preparing for war. The Union dismissed these reports at first. They believed their vast fleets would hold any threat at bay. But Dr. Voss paid attention. The Dravik were not like the Union. They thrived in chaos, moving unpredictably, fighting without rules. And she knew deep inside that no Union fleet built on tradition could match them. Perhaps only a ship like the Dauntless, a ship designed for flexibility, could survive against such an enemy. As Part 1 closes, the stage is set. Humanity's prototype ship is mocked. Its designer and captain remain steadfast. And far away a storm is coming that will test the galaxy. You said, Part 2. 1300 words ka lekho or interesting hona chahiye or third-person style ma likhni ha or simple basic English ka. Don't use any violated word. So please avoid any violated content, ChatGPT said. Perfect, DC. Ban. Let's continue the story with Part 2. A war no one was ready for. Expanded into a full 1,300-word chapter. Written in third-person style, simple English, and engaging narration. Part 2, A War No One Was Ready for. The galaxy was never quiet for long. Beyond the well-guarded borders of the Galactic Union, something dark was stirring. The Dravik swarm, a name spoken in fear across old records, had begun to move again. Entire colonies went silent near the rim of Union space. Refugees whispered of skies filled with endless ships and worlds reduced to ash. At first, the Union dismissed these rumors. The Union had always believed in its strength. Its fleets numbered in the thousands, and its strategies had been perfected over millennia. To them, the Dravik were nothing more than a reminder of old wars, enemies long defeated. But then came the first strike. 3 border systems were attacked almost at once. The Union sent fleets to intercept, confident in their victory. Instead, those fleets never returned. Communication cut off mid-battle. Distress signals ended in silence. Outposts reported glimpses of black insect-like warships tearing through entire formations before being consumed themselves. The Union Council was forced to admit the truth. The swarm had returned, and it was stronger than ever. The Dauntless remained stationed at Europa Station when the news arrived. To many, it was still a symbol of human pride rather than a tool of war. It was assigned to observer duty, positioned far from the actual front lines. Captain Adrian Holt sat in his command chair, reading the battle reports as they streamed across the holographic display. His face remained calm, but the silence in the bridge told another story. The crew stared at the losses with wide eyes. Entire fleets gone, worlds abandoned. Even the most powerful Union dreadnoughts had been destroyed in minutes. They fight with chaos, Holt muttered under his breath. No order, no predictable lines. That's why the Union fleets cannot stop them. The Dauntless's AI, Athena, responded in her clear, human-like voice. Captain, simulations confirm your observation. The Dravik operate in irregular patterns. Their ships swarm unpredictably, shifting formations faster than Union fleets can adapt. Union doctrine relies on structure. Against chaos, structure fails. Holt leaned back, his thoughts heavy. He knew the truth of war. Order was comforting, but it was also fragile. A single unpredictable enemy could break it apart. And now the galaxy faced not one enemy ship, but an endless tide. In the Union's Grand Chamber, leaders of dozens of alien races gathered. The tension was thick, each voice raised in panic or anger. Some called for retreat, others for massive mobilization. Yet underneath their words lay the same fear. The Union was not ready. The Korth generals demanded building larger fleets. The Volari suggested sealing off border systems and abandoning the rim. The Chiral warned that if the Dravik reached the core worlds, it would be too late. And then, almost as an afterthought, the Dauntless was mentioned. A human prototype sits at the edge of our DE. The Dauntless surged forward, its engines glowing a steady blue as it left the safety of the Union formation behind. Captain Adrian Holt's hands gripped the controls lightly, though his mind raced with every calculation. Around him, the crew stared wide-eyed at the holographic display, showing the Dravik swarm moving in deadly, unpredictable patterns. "Everyone, stay sharp," Holt said, his voice calm but commanding. "They are fast, but we are clever. Follow my lead and trust the ship." The officers nodded, though fear still lingered. The Dauntless was small, almost fragile in comparison to the monstrous Dravik warships, yet something about it felt different. It was alive with possibility, not with brute force. "Captain, weapon systems are ready," Athena said. Her tone was smooth, precise, almost comforting. "I am analyzing Dravik movement patterns. Probability of a successful hit is 52% per shot." Holt smiled faintly. 52 is enough. Fire when ready." The first salvo of railgun shots streaked into space. Unlike the Union's traditional volleys, which were neat and predictable, the Dauntless fired in erratic bursts. Each projectile moved at angles the Dravik could not anticipate, weaving around their defensive shields. The effect was immediate. One Dravik ship exploded in a shower of sparks and metal. Another collided with its ally while attempting to evade. Small but significant victories lit hope in the crew's hearts. "Captain, their targeting systems are struggling," Athena reported. "They cannot predict our pattern." Holt's eyes narrowed. "Good. Keep moving." The Dauntless twisted and turned in space, diving in and out of the swarm. Its stealth shrouds activated in brief pulses, making the ship vanish and reappear at unexpected angles. The Dravik fired blindly, striking empty space where the Dauntless had been seconds before. The crew began to feel a strange exhilaration. Fear still lingered, but it was accompanied by awe. The Dauntless was proving something no one had expected. Meanwhile, Dr. Alara Voss monitored the battle from Europa Station via the quantum relay feed. She saw the reactions of the alien fleets: shock, confusion, disbelief. The Dauntless was small, yet it moved like a living predator through the enemy swarm, striking with precision where no one else dared. "They don't understand us," Voss whispered to herself. "They think size and power matter most. They do not see this." Her fingers hovered over a console. A series of commands could modify the Dauntless's systems in real time. Adaptive targeting, energy shielding, even the plasma turrets could be reconfigured mid-battle. The crew had trained for hours to understand the systems, but now Voss could guide them, giving subtle adjustments that made the ship nearly impossible to hit. Back on the bridge, Holt studied the holographic display. The Dravik were adapting. Their swarm patterns were beginning to shift. But the Dauntless had a weapon they could not anticipate: human unpredictability. "Execute Maneuver Delta 6, Holt ordered. The ship pivoted sharply, weaving through a cluster of enemy vessels in a pattern no algorithm could predict. The railguns fired, and a nearby enemy cruiser erupted in flames. The crew cheered quietly. Small victories in such a battle felt monumental. For the first time, they believed survival was possible. Athena spoke again. "Captain, I am detecting an opportunity. A cluster of Dravik command ships is moving within range of our graviton disruptor. Probability of destroying or disabling the command cluster, 37%. Risk to our hull, minimal if executed precisely." Holt leaned forward. 37 is better than 0. Prepare the disruptor." The graviton disruptor was experimental, designed to distort gravity fields in localized zones. In testing, it had been unpredictable, which was why it was rarely used in live combat. But now, Holt realized, unpredictability was exactly what the Dravik could not handle. As the Dauntless approached the cluster, the crew worked in seamless coordination. Systems adjusted mid-flight, plasma turrets recalibrated, shields shifted to absorb erratic energy strikes. Every move was unpredictable, every action counterintuitive, and every attack precise. The disruptor fired. Space around the Dravik command cluster twisted and shivered as gravity surged uncontrollably. Ships collided, shields overloaded, and a chain reaction of destruction rippled outward. The swarm screamed in alien soundless signals, their coordination shattered. Holt allowed himself a brief smile. Well done, everyone. Keep the pressure. The Dravik, for all their ancient experience, had never encountered an opponent like this. Their hive logic worked perfectly against predictable enemies, but humans were not predictable. The Dauntless moved like a shadow, striking at angles, disappearing and reappearing, and always staying one step ahead. A young officer at the weapons, Consul whispered almost to herself. It's like they can't even see us. Holt nodded without taking his eyes off the display. Exactly. Let them try. We'll show them what humans can do. The Dauntless continued its assault. Small enemy ships were disabled or destroyed. Larger ships avoided for the moment to prevent overexposure. Every move was calculated yet unpredictable. Every system worked in concert with human instinct. Athena's voice cut through the tense hum of the bridge. Captain, enemy reinforcements detected. Approximately 200 additional vessels approaching from the galactic vector 390. They may attempt to flank us. Holt's jaw tightened. Then we flank them first. He activated the experimental holographic decoys, projecting multiple images of the Dauntless around the battlefield. Dravik ships fired at illusions, wasting energy, while the real Dauntless maneuvered unseen. It was a deadly game of cat and mouse. The crew's fear began to fade, replaced with focused determination. Each maneuver, each shot, each decision reinforced the lesson that had carried humans through countless struggles on Earth. Adaptability was power. Suddenly the battlefield changed. A massive Dravik cruiser, twice the size of any ship in the Union fleet, appeared at the center of the swarm. Its core pulsed with energy, radiating waves that threatened to disable the Dauntless's systems. Holt's eyes narrowed. Athena, how do we handle it? Captain, direct assault will likely result in hull breach. Alternative, use the disruptor in conjunction with evasive maneuvers to destabilize the core, Athena replied. Holt nodded. Do it, and stay unpredictable. Do not let them track us. The Dauntless twisted and weaved, weaving railgun salvos with pulse bursts and disruptive energy waves. The experimental systems, guided by both Athena and the crew's instinct, worked in harmony. For every move the Dravik tried, the Dauntless had a counter, something no algorithm could predict. Minutes passed like hours. Sweat beaded on the crew's foreheads. But gradually, the massive cruiser's core began to falter. Lights flickered across its hull, and it shuddered violently. Another strike from the Dauntless's disruptor, and the cruiser exploded in a controlled implosion, sending waves of debris through the swarm. The crew let out a cheer. For the first time in the battle, the tide seemed to turn. Smaller Dravik ships hesitated, their hive coordination fractured. The Dauntless had proven that size, age, and sheer numbers were not always the deciding factors. Strategy, adaptability, and ingenuity could overcome overwhelming odds. Holt looked at his crew. This is only the beginning, he said. We've shown them we are not weak. But the war is far from over. Keep your focus. Every move counts. Athena's voice was almost proud. Captain, sensors indicate several enemy command nodes are now vulnerable. With precise targeting, we can continue to disrupt the swarm. Voss, watching from Europa Station, smiled quietly. They see it now, she whispered. The Dauntless is not a toy. It is a force of its own. As the battle continued, humans and their prototype ship became a beacon of hope. Union. Fleets still recovering from their initial losses began to adjust their strategies, inspired by the courage and ingenuity of a species they had long underestimated. The Dravik swarm, for the first time in centuries, faced an enemy that could not be fully anticipated, and the Dauntless, small but unstoppable, led the charge. In the endless dark of space, one thing became clear. Unpredictability was a weapon no one had ever taught them to defend against. And the humans, mocked for their inexperience and called useless, were showing the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. The battle had only just begun, But for the Dauntless and her crew, victory was now within reach. Word count. Out of 10, Part 3 focuses on the Dauntless proving its unique combat capabilities, the crew learning confidence and trust in human adaptability, the Dravik swarm facing a foe they cannot predict, laying the foundation for even more daring actions in Part 4. If you want, I can continue with Part 4, Humanity's Gamble. Next, keeping the same style, pacing, and excitement for another 1,300 words. Do you want me to do that? You said Part 4. 1,300 words ka lekho or interesting hona chahiye or third-person style ma lekhni hai or simple basic English ka. Don't use any violated word, so please avoid any violated content. ChatGPT said, absolutely. Here's Part 4. Humanity's Gamble expanded into a full 1,300-word chapter, written in third-person style, using simple, engaging English, and fully clean. Part 4. Humanity's Gamble. The battlefield stretched across the void like a shattered tapestry. Fires from destroyed Dravik ships glimmered against the darkness of space, drifting debris painting ghostly trails in the light of distant stars. The Dauntless moved with Unka. The Singularity Core hummed with power deep within the ESS Dauntless. Its faint blue glow pulsed rhythmically, reflecting in the eyes of the crew as they braced for the unimaginable. Captain Adrian Holt's hands rested lightly on the controls, his calm voice a beacon of focus amid the tension. All stations, check every system twice, he ordered. Once we activate, there's no turning back. Lieutenant Mara Chen's fingers danced over her console, confirming shields, weapon alignment, and navigation thrusters. Her voice was steady but carried the weight of the moment. Shields at maximum, disruptors aligned, graviton field stable. Athena's voice, smooth and precise, resonated across the bridge. Captain, core parameters are within safe limits. Probability of maximum effectiveness, 76%. Risk of hull damage, significant but survivable with evasive maneuvers. Holt nodded. That's enough. Prepare for activation. The Dravik swarm's central command vessel loomed before them, massive and alien in its design, pulsing with energy that seemed to consume the surrounding darkness. Around it, hundreds of swarm ships twisted and danced, trying to protect their leader. The Dauntless, small but unyielding, hovered at the edge of the formation, unseen among decoys and shadows. Holt's eyes scanned the battlefield, noting every movement. The Dravik were adapting, but they could not anticipate unpredictability, not the kind only humans possessed. He felt the weight of every crew member's life, every human soul watching from distant worlds, and every doubt ever cast at their ship. The Dauntless was humanity's answer to every insult, every laugh, every dismissive remark that called them weak. This is it, Holt whispered to himself. Time to prove them wrong. With a precise sequence of commands, the Singularity Core activated. A low hum became a sharp vibration that resonated through the ship, making even the hardened crew feel the surge of energy. The gravity field projected outward, creating a distortion in space that bent light and matter alike. The Dravik fleet reacted instantly, firing volleys of energy at the Dauntless. But it was too late. The Singularity's effects rippled outward, targeting the central command vessel with precision. Hulls shuddered as gravitational waves tore at the structure, twisting it in impossible directions. Energy cores overloaded, shields buckled, and with a deafening implosion, the massive ship collapsed inward, vanishing in a blinding flash. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield. Smaller Dravik vessels were caught in the gravitational distortion, colliding, breaking apart or spinning helplessly into the void. Chaos erupted. For the first time, the swarm's cohesion faltered. On the bridge, the crew of the Dauntless held their breath. Alarms screamed, hull stress warnings flashed, but the ship held. Athena's calm voice cut through the chaos. Captain, the Singularity Core has achieved maximum effectiveness. Dravik command structure is collapsing. Probability of fleet disarray, 92%. Holt allowed himself a brief smile. All stations maintain formation and continue evasive maneuvers. We are not done until every threat is neutralized. The crew adjusted to the aftershocks of the core's activation. Every weapon fired in coordination. Every shield pulse timed to perfection. The Dravik, now leaderless, were flailing. Their once coordinated attacks had become random, inefficient, and vulnerable. The Dauntless exploited every weakness, striking swiftly and vanishing before counterattacks could land. Back on Europa Station, Dr. Alara Voss watched the events unfold on the main display. Her hands clenched in awe as she saw the Dauntless achieve what no other Union fleet had managed. A single human ship had faced an armada and emerged victorious. They didn't just fight, she whispered. They taught the galaxy what humans can do. The Union leaders, who had once mocked the prototype, were now silent. Their arrogance had been shattered, replaced by disbelief and respect. Ancient generals from species older than humanity's recorded history were witnessing a young species redefine the rules of war. As the last Dravik ships tried to regroup, the Dauntless delivered the final blows. Carefully calculated strikes disabled propulsion systems and energy cores. Swarm ships, once aggressive and overwhelming, now drifted helplessly through space, abandoned by their leaders. Holt watched the displays, every movement deliberate. We finished this cleanly. No unnecessary risk. Evasive protocols active. The Singularity Core had been drained to near exhaustion, and the ship had endured stress beyond its normal limits. Yet it remained intact, battered but unbroken, a testament to both human engineering and adaptability. Athena spoke again, her voice carrying a note of quiet pride. Captain, all immediate threats neutralized. The Dravik swarm is in full retreat. Their fleet is fractured, leadership incapacitated. Holt exhaled slowly, letting the tension leave his shoulders. Good work, everyone. Humanity has earned its place today. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Reports of a single human ship defeating an entire alien armada reached distant systems, Union capitals, and even neutral worlds. For centuries, the galaxy had underestimated humans. They had laughed at Earth's small fleets, mocked their lack of experience, and labeled their technology primitive. But now humanity's ingenuity and courage had rewritten expectations. The Dauntless, once ridiculed as a prototype useless ship, had become a symbol of hope and inspiration. Its crew, Captain Holt and his officers, were hailed as heroes across systems. Dr. Voss's work, the culmination of human creativity and engineering, became legendary among scientists and engineers alike. On the bridge, Holt stood quietly watching the debris drift through space. The smell of burnt circuits, the hum of engines cooling, and the quiet relief of a crew who had survived against impossible odds filled the room. He knew this battle was only one chapter in a much larger story, but it was an important one. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. Lieutenant Chen approached him, a faint smile breaking her usually serious demeanor. "Sir, they really called us useless. And look at us now." Holt nodded, his eyes still on the stars. "We don't need anyone's approval. We only need to prove ourselves when it matters. And today, we proved it." Athena's voice, warm and steady, filled the bridge. "Captain, the Dauntless has performed beyond all predictions. Humanity's adaptability has redefined what is possible in combat. You and your crew are now legendary." Holt allowed himself a small laugh. "Legendary? I like that. But remember, Athena, it's not about fame. It's about being ready for whatever comes next." The Dauntless began its journey back toward Union-controlled space. Its hull bore the scars of battle, but its systems had held. The crew moved with quiet efficiency, checking equipment, tending to minor damages, and sharing moments of relief. The ship had survived impossible odds, but it was more than a vessel. It was a statement. Every planet, every fleet, every sentient being that had once mocked Earth now had to reconsider. Humanity was clever, resourceful, and adaptable. They thrived where others relied solely on power and numbers. They could turn chaos into opportunity, danger into victory. Voss, aboard Europa Station, smiled as she watched the Dauntless recede into the stars. "You've done it," she said softly. "You've shown them all. And in the far reaches of space, among the remaining fragments of the Dravik swarm, the message was clear: underestimate humans at your own peril." As the Dauntless returned home, word of its victory traveled faster than light. Pilots, engineers, soldiers, and civilians across Earth and Union worlds awaited its arrival. When it finally docked at Earth's orbital station, the ship that was once mocked as useless was now celebrated as a hero of the galaxy. Captain Holt. Dr. Voss and the entire crew stood before a crowd of humans and aliens alike. There was pride, awe, and respect in every eye. No longer was Earth considered insignificant. No longer was the Dauntless a prototype to be laughed at. Humanity had shown the galaxy that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability could overcome even the most impossible odds. Holt looked out at the crowd, then up at the stars beyond. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The galaxy is bigger than we imagined, and the challenges ahead will be greater. But if we stay clever, brave, and united, there is nothing we cannot face." And with that, humanity stepped fully into its place among the stars, no longer mocked, no longer doubted, and never again considered useless. The Dauntless had proven that sometimes the smallest ship with the biggest heart could change the course of history. The legend of the Dauntless had begun, and the galaxy would never forget it.